All right. So as I go through these slides, think about a couple of things. One is always be aware of where you are in the digestive tract, because there's only 4 locations that I'm going to present. I think you should know these 4 locations. Esophagus, stomach, small intestine, but it's not enough to know just that. You got to figure out if it's duodenum. Duodenum. And then 4 is colon or large intestine. So this is esophagus. I'll start at the beginning, go straight through. I have it pre-labeled so it's easier to point out. Going from top to bottom, number 1, mucosa, so therefore number 2. Submucosa, 3 and 4 are the muscularis externa. However, it's bilayered here. 3 is a circular layer, 4 is a longitudinal layer, 5 is serosa adventitia. So those are the layers of the GI tract wall for esophagus. Now, to look at the mucosa closer up, the job of the esophagus is just to move food all the way down to the stomach. If you take a close look at the mucosa, we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 are all mucosa. However, 1 is the epithelial type. It is a stratified squamous epithelium. Okay? The function is protection. So when you swallow food, the apical layers can be sloughed off, and the basal layers will proliferate and to replace it. Number 2 is lamina propria. Number 3 is muscularis mucosa. This is stomach, and this is numbered from outer to inner. Serosa adventitia, muscularis externa, submucosa, mucosa. We're still in the stomach. This is a higher mag of mucosa, because for the stomach, I do want you to know gastric pit, number 3, versus gastric gland, number 2, muscularis mucosa for number 1. That's not particular to the stomach, but it's there, so I tagged it. But gastric pit and gland, know that. I could have pointed to any pit. Okay, I just pointed to that one. And we're still in the stomach. I like this slide because it shows you the tri-layered muscularis externa. Longitudinal, circular, oblique. For 1, 2, and 3, your tri-layered muscularis externa. Number 4, submucosa. Number 5, mucosa. I didn't point to it, but I could have. The gastric pit, or deep inside, are the gastric glands. So that's stomach. The first part of the small intestine is the duodenum. And the clue for that is to look for the Brunner's glands in the submucosa. So number 6, Brunner's glands. Number 4, submucosa. So don't forget about your other layers. Number 1, serosa. Number 2, longitudinal layer of muscularis externa. Number 3, circular layer of muscularis externa. Again, number 4, it's the submucosa with the Brunner's glands. And number 5 is the mucosa. And you can see the villi there. This is duodenum. This is jejunum. However, it's only showing you the mucosa. And I'm pointing to a villus, number 2, and the crypts, the intestinal crypts. Sometimes they're called crypts of Lieberkuhn with Panna cells. So I don't know if I've ever written that on the board. intestinal crypts with Paneth cells, but they're also called, just to get the term on the board, the crypts of Lieberkühn.
Is that number 1?
Oh, let me remember how to spell this. Yeah. What's number 1?
Is that what you're talking about? Is the correct?
Oh, on the
one?
slide, number 1.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right. But let's remember, this is jejunum. I didn't show you the whole thing for jejunum, just the mucosa. That's usually where I see the villi crypt thing very well. Jejunum. There's a close-up picture of just the crypts. The Paneth cells are eosinophilic. They tend to stain red, and I think these cells, the cytoplasm, it looks reddish to me. So that's why I'm going with the crypts of Lieberkühn with Paneth cells. Sometimes I just call them intestinal crypts. Know both terms. But we're going to move on from jejunum to ileum, shown here. The big giveaway that it's ileum is the malt, number 4, malt, big purple splotch. The cells that compose malt are the lymphocytes, right? They stain purple, and, well, that's malt. 4 is malt. The layers, I don't see a serosa. We start with number 1 and number 2. These are both the bilayered muscularis externa, but number 1 is longitudinal, 2 is circular. 3 is the submucosa. 4 is the malt. 5 is the mucosa. 6 is pointing to muscularis mucosa. Okay. This is the, what is it again? Ileum. Here's the large intestine, the colon. They must have cut it right where the Taeniae coli is, because I see all the layers here. I see the bilayered muscularis externa, circular, longitudinal, okay, 2 big slabs of meat. Okay, remember what the colon is, it's got to move the fecal matter. Number 5 is serosa, again, 3 and 4 muscularis externa. 2 is what? Submucosa. Therefore, number 1, the top, mucosa. Very good. Be able to identify malt on this picture. Okay. It's also in the colon. And I point to a goblet cell there. The goblet cell is very important for the function of the colon. There's one case a colleague told me about where she used to be a nurse, and she would go to this guy's house to form these massive enemas. And he lost function of his goblet cells. I forget what his affliction was. Without proper goblet cell function, you can't move your bowels, you need enemas. And what she would have to do is she would go there maybe once a month, which I found amazing that you only need it once a month. I imagine a lot came out, a month's supply of stuff coming out there. And, well, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that this guy, he was able to keep it a secret from his family for decades. His wife, his kids never knew. And yeah, I thought that was more interesting. He didn't want to burden his family with that knowledge, and somehow this nurse would come to his house once a month, and Professor Woolsey, you can ask her about it if you ever see her. She said, yeah, I don't know. Well, anyways, goblet cell. Yeah, that's what you got.
Is that still in the ileum?
No, that's colon. This is colon.